Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Kringle candle 14 ounce wick candle in the scent Christmas treats. The retail price of this candle is $24. However, I purchased this during a 3 for $33 sale. That makes this candle $11 plus shipping. The particular burn time is 45 plus hours and my pour date is September 26, 2025. The scent description online reads, Christmas treats fills your home with fried pastry, cinnamon, a warm holiday welcome. Top notes, fried pastry, mid, cinnamon, base, brown sugar. To briefly talk about the packaging, I do like that the fragrance notes are listed in the front label. This isn't a wraparound, which I do always enjoy, but I like that there's a cohesive theme going on. The label has this like brown color scheme and it matches with the colored wax. To be like a little bit nitpicky, I don't necessarily think that the cookies or the Christmas treats depicted on the label scream holiday to me, but that's besides the point. But otherwise, it's a nice label. I love the colored wax and it looks great while burning. But okay, when I smell this candle on cold, I got this slight fruit apple nuance. I smell it a lot less now that I am closer to finishing this candle, but it almost made this candle read on cold as an apple cider donut instead of like Christmas treats as far as cookies are depicted in the front label. So it almost reminded me of like a cider donut scent with a touch of apple. The fried note was the first note that I got, along with a sweet cinnamon sugar note. I like that the cinnamon note in here wasn't a red hot cinnamon and it wasn't a craft store cinnamon. It was a cinnamon note that you would use while you're baking. It smells powdery and again, doesn't read red hot. And because I'm a little bit cinnamon or spice intolerant, if it was any stronger, I think it would bother me. But then again, I don't like heavy spiced candles. So if you enjoy spices, I think this might be a good fit for you. The brown sugar note is pleasant and I like that it is somewhat reading a little bit of like a slightly caramelized or brown sugar sauce that is starting to happen in like a cooking pan. So the strength on cold, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. To briefly talk about my first burn, I did trim my wicks beforehand and it pulled out very quickly, I would say within 30 minutes. I think it has something to do with the closer wick placement, at least partly because in the other candles that I got from the fall and the holiday collection, I feel like my wicks are spread out a bit further. One thing a bit negative was that it formed some crazy mushroom tops and it did burn strong and hot. So I had to limit my burn time to 2 hours, especially during the first 3 burns or so. One good thing about that is that after I extinguished the candle, it did linger in the air for about an hour. And I think that's partly due to the prominent cinnamon note in the fragrance projection. It took a while to amp up. So early in the first burn, it was a 6 out of 10. But when it was performing at its peak, which was around the midway mark, it was an 8 out of 10. So the projection was great, but it took a while to get to it. Also, during the first burns, I noticed that there was slight sooting happening or actually emitting from the candle, which is rare for Kringle candles. So I did extinguish my flame, cut off a bit of the mushroom tops, and then relit it after it solidified. But even when I extinguished it and trimmed the mushroom tops, it wasn't excessive to the point where I feel like it should have been sooting. But okay, let me go ahead, show you an overhead view and show you how the candle is performing right now that I am close to finishing it. Okay, so here's an overhead view of my candle. I've been burning it just under 4 hours, which is a bit rare because, long story short, I feel like I've been having slight performance issues with this Kringle 3 wick, which is a bit odd. But anyways, just under 4 hours. If you can't tell, but my flames are a bit low right now, and I find that very odd because I did have to soak up some of the wax, and I feel like I'm having that same issue that I did with Bouche de Noël. In a bit, I'll show you a side view, but I feel like I have enough wax where this shouldn't be an issue, but my wicks are just kind of drowning out. So I haven't been trimming them the last 2 burns or so. Yeah, so I feel like my flames are dying out. I am still able to smell the candle, but before I have an even wax pull, I feel like my strength and throw is closer to an 8 out of 10 for both, But then once I hit that 2 hour to 2.5 hour mark, I noticed that my flames start to get smaller and smaller. And there, or at that point, the strength and throw drops to about a 6 out of 10, which, given that these flames are a bit low, that's still pretty good in my medium-sized bedroom. When this was performing great at around hour 2 for this burn, my sister could smell it from my medium-sized bedroom past the hallway, and it was trying to curve into her office space and the kitchen. However, right now the strength and throw are struggling a bit because of the flames. So that is why going forward, I'm not going to trim my wicks anymore. I might soak up some wax if my flames get any smaller. And I will limit my burn time to 2 hours because I feel like there's one of two options at this point. I can either burn through the low flames, which is what I did with Bouche de Noël, and never auto-corrected itself even after I soaked up some wax. The flames would go from strong to low. Or I can enjoy this candle more by burning it for 2 hours, because at that point I'll have an even wax pool. The flames are still a little bit higher and stronger. But yeah, before this point though, my candle was performing beautifully. No issues with the candle pulling out. Yes, issues with slight bit of sooting. Again, I don't know if it's because the wick placement is a little bit closer or if it was just because of the mushroom top issue I was having. But other than that, it's going okay. I really enjoy the fragrance, despite the fact that I tend to stay away from cinnamon heavy fragrances. I feel like this reminds me less of like sugar cookies or like the cookies that are depicted on the picture. It's not greasy enough that I would consider to be a churro fragrance, but I would feel like it's a healthier cider donut, perhaps, with a little bit of apple on cold, but that quickly disappears when you go to burn it. Strangely enough, when I extinguish the candle, I feel like I do pick up that slight fruit nuance a little bit, but I feel like I do have to search for it. But pretty much this is a straightforward fragrance. It's just a heavy, sweet cinnamon bakery gourmand type of a fragrance. There's not much depth to it, but it is enjoyable. And I feel like, at least with Bath and Body Works for those candles, I haven't had one that is terribly strong. So this could be a good option for me in this instance. Overall, I really enjoy the fragrance Christmas Treats from Kringle Candle. I feel like it's one of those basic candles that are done well. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but I feel like it's just a solid, well, it was a solid performer before I started having these like puny flames. But regardless, the main notes that I get again are the cinnamon that is not red hot. It's not a craft store. It's just this nice baking cinnamon that's mixed in with that brown sugar. And then when you add heat to it, I feel like it makes it more of like of a brown sugar that is starting to heat up and turn a little bit saucy on the pan. And also with the fragrance or the candle itself, this is never one that I go nose blind to. I feel like it's very present in my nose. Again, it could be that I'm a little bit spice intolerant, that's why. But yeah, this is a candle that I never go nose blind to. It performs well. At its peak, you know, before it started going downhill, it was about an 8 out of 10, solid medium in my medium-sized bedroom, projected about the same 8 out of 10. But right now, because of these very puny flames, I feel like it's being a bit impacted. So here is how the candle looks like. And if you can see, I still have a good amount of wax left over that I don't know why my flames are starting to get a bit low. So right now at this point, I would say that my strength and throw is closer to a 6.5 or maybe a 6. I don't know if this could be helped with a hurricane. So I will either extinguish this, of course, either soak up the wax or just burn through the paint, like how I mentioned. Let me know what method works best for you. Also, another thing is that the wax pool to these, or for these 3-wick candles are very large. I have been worried that the flicks would drift or the wick glue would become loose, but that hasn't been the case at all. So that's another good thing, because for the summer and spring limited edition 3-wick candles, that a lot of them are still available, I lost 2 wicks on 2 different fragrances, but that hasn't been the case with these fall and holiday candles. Surprisingly, I'm really enjoying this cinnamon forward fragrance. I think that it's balanced out by the sweetness of the brown sugar, and I think that the fried pastry note does not lean greasy at all. This doesn't smell like how some candles that have like fried notes, that it almost smells like when they reuse the oil to dip in the like the donuts or whatever type of treats in there, that it comes across a bit stale or just off. That's definitely not the case. But then again, this candle is like basic but good in a way. I think that's a good way or a simple way to sum up this candle. When it was performing well, I would repurchase it. However, because I have been having these low flame issues, I don't think I would recommend it, and I don't think I would repurchase it. When it was performing well, I would have though. Also, my sister really enjoys this candle. She really likes sweet, spicy fragrances, and she loves anything cinnamon. So while I don't know if this necessarily leans Christmas treats to me, I think it leans more of like cinnamon sugar cookies or like a cinnamon donut, perhaps. Yeah, the pictures that are on the label, I just don't know if that really comes across to what I am smelling, which again, it's a pretty basic scent, but it's nice. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions on this candle and have a great day. Okay, bye.